After discovering his maid's hidden dance with his deaf twins, an incredible transformation melts his heart. Nick stood in the kitchen, the aroma of garlic and simmering spaghetti filling the air. He watched his twins, Mia and Max, giggling as they chased each other around the living room, their laughter pure and free like music to his ears. His heart swelled with love, even as the burdens of single fatherhood pressed heavily on his shoulders. He was a hard-working man, a war veteran just trying to make ends meet running a small auto repair shop. Every hour spent working in that garage felt like a small victory, but it was exhausting, and the weight of bills loomed over him like a dark cloud. He wanted nothing more than to give his children the opportunities he never had. Then he paused, caught off guard by the sight in front of him. Julia, his young maid, was twirling in the living room, her dark hair flying as she danced with Mia and Max. The room was filled with their shared laughter, their little hands grasping and letting go in a rhythm only they understood. Nick felt a surge of emotions, a confusing mix of joy and unease. Why was she dancing with his kids? His instinct kicked in, suspicion coiling in his gut. Caught between confusion and sudden anger, he stormed into the room. "Julia, what are you doing?" His voice rang out, harsh and filled with accusation. The laughter stopped, replaced by surprised gazes. Julia froze, her face paling, while Mia and Max stared at their father, uncertain. Nick felt his own body tense, fraught with memories of vulnerability, of trusting people only to be let down. I was just helping them express themselves," Julia stammered. Her honesty sliced through the air, but Nick's fears clouded his vision. The confrontation left an atmosphere so heavy, he could almost feel it push against him. The joy in the room dissolved into thick, uncomfortable silence as he dismissed her sharply. Days passed, a heavy weight of tension hanging between them. However, Nick couldn't deny the change in Mia and Max. They danced even more now, their laughter brighter than before, filling their small home with a warmth that slowly melted his heart. It gnawed at him. He found himself questioning if he had been too harsh. He had meant to protect them, but was he pushing them away instead? Looking for guidance, he turned to his neighbors, sharing tales of hardship and triumphs, of community bonds that brought them together. Their stories echoed with resilience, inspiring him to open up. It was clear that Julia was creating a bridge for his children to not only discover joy but also express themselves in ways he hadn't considered. A neighborhood event to showcase talents was in the air, and a rush of emotions filled Nick as he recalled fleeting memories of his own childhood performances. Each pang of nostalgia was a reminder of what his parents sacrificed, urging him to embrace the idea of community. He understood that Julia was more than just a maid. She was a mentor, an ally in his children's lives. As the day of the showcase neared, fear gripped Nick once again. He couldn't shake the nagging memories of their earlier confrontation, but felt an undeniable pull to reconcile with Julia. Their shared struggles united them, and it was time to heal the rift. The big night arrived, the community buzzing with excitement. Just as Nick stepped forward to take the stage with Mia, Max, and Julia, a shadow fell across his heart, a familiar figure he thought he'd left behind. The moment froze, thick with tension. Nick now stood at a crossroads, unsure of how to navigate the tangled web of his fears and hopes. Would he embrace forgiveness, or would the past still cling to him, heavier than ever? The anticipation in the air swelled, as Nick whispered a silent prayer for courage, knowing that the night was just beginning. Nick's heart raced as he caught sight of the figure, a specter from his past. It was Marcus, an old friend turned rival. They had a good friendship once, way back in the day, but life had pulled them in different directions. Marcus was charismatic, successful, living a life Nick had always envied. And now, here he was, in the midst of this fragile moment. The crowd buzzed around them, completely unaware of the emotional storm brewing in Nick's chest. Mia and Max stood beside him, eyes wide with excitement, and Julia shot him a questioning glance, sensing the tension crackling in the air. Nick's throat tightened. He had to focus. He needed to be present for his kids. Hello, Nick, Marcus said coolly, that familiar tone masking whatever was beneath. Looks like you're managing quite a bit these days. Nick clenched his fists, trying to suppress the memories of long nights spent in his garage, the struggle to keep his shop alive, all while raising twins alone. Just doing what I can, he replied, his voice steady, though his heart pounded faster with every beat. Isn't it lovely to see the kids dance? Marcus continued, glancing over at Mia and Max. His gaze flicked to Julia, and Nick felt an unfamiliar surge of protectiveness wash over him. Yeah, it is, Nick responded, forcing a smile. Joy mingled with unease. He could sense Marcus's desire to undermine his newfound happiness, and it made his skin crawl. The stage lights illuminated their faces, and suddenly the moment pressed down hard. The warmth of the community's energy was almost palpable. Julia took a step forward, her presence grounding him. Mia, Max, it's time to show everyone what you've been working on, she said gently. Nick glanced at Julia, suddenly grateful. She had been there, guiding his children, nurturing their spirits. That was her purpose, wasn't it? To bring life into their home. And now this was happening, right here in front of everyone. Mia bounced with excitement, her small hands clapping. Daddy, come dance with us. Max nodded vigorously, eyes sparkling. Yeah, Daddy. Nick hesitated. Everyone's eyes were on them, but he felt something shift within him. The laughter bouncing around the community felt inviting, not judgmental. The embrace of acceptance hung thick in the air. What had he been so afraid of? It dawned on him that this was a chance not just for his kids, but for him too. Okay, he breathed, squaring his shoulders. Let us do this. With Julia at the forefront, they stepped onto the stage, the cheers of the crowd buoying him along. Nick felt his heart race not from fear, but exhilaration. As they began to move, letting music envelop them, something remarkable happened. The joy of dancing, of laughter, filled in the cracks of his broken world. For a moment, all past fears, insecurities, and doubts fell away. He was simply a father, sharing joy with his children. But as the music swelled, Nick's eyes drifted once more to Marcus. His rival's smile was tight, and an unsettling glint in his eyes made Nick's stomach churn. After the performance, would he approach them? Would he try to tear down this moment of happiness? The music faded, but the question lingered. What challenges awaited them even after this celebration of joy? Nick's heartbeat thundered as he realized that the night was far from over. The future loomed ahead, and he was gripped with curiosity and trepidation. Would he find the strength to confront the past and embrace the possibilities of tomorrow? The applause erupted like thunder as Nick, Mia, and Max took their final bow. Laughter spilled into the brightly lit night like fireworks. Nick, still riding the high of their performance, felt a warmth radiate from the crowd, a flood of acceptance that wrapped around him. Yet, beneath the euphoria, a chill crept in again, reminding him of Marcus lurking at the edge of the stage. As they stepped away, Nick turned his gaze sideways. Marcus was making his way through the crowd, bobbing and weaving toward them. The anticipation felt heavy, like a weight ready to drop. Julia squeezed Nick's hand, her reassuring presence shifting the tension in the air, even a little. Mia, Max, she called, kneeling beside the twins. You both were amazing. Did you see how the crowd loved you? Yes. I can't believe we did it. Mia glowed, her cheeks flushed with joy. Max nodded, still buzzing with excitement. Daddy, can we do that again next week? Before Nick could respond, Marcus's smooth voice broke through. Impressive work. Kids, he said, a hint of something sharper slicing through his compliments. And you too, Nick. Nick squared his jaw. Thanks, Marcus. We had a lot of practice. Marcus chuckled softly, an edge of mocking nestled in the sound. I can see that. Seems like you're getting the hang of this whole parenting thing. The twins turned back to Nick, their smiles huge and vibrant. They didn't sense the dragon lurking in this conversation. Nick shot Marcus a hard look, a silent challenge hanging in the air. What are you doing here, Marcus? Nick asked, his voice lower but steady. Just wanted to see how you're managing, he replied, feigning innocence. Maybe I could help you, streamline things? Nick's pulse quickened, a rush of adrenaline coursing through him. Help? What did Marcus know about parenting or running a shop? I think we're doing just fine without your help. Mia, ever perceptive, sensed the shift in her father's energy. She leaned against him, glancing from him to Marcus. Daddy, we can be friends, right? Of course, sweetie, Nick replied, ruffling her hair, his expression softening. Max piped up, innocent and earnest. Yeah, friends like you and Mr. Marcus used to be? A flicker crossed Marcus's face, something dark and unyielding. Those days were fun, weren't they, Nick? He said, but the challenge was unmistakable. The twins laughed, oblivious to the tension, and Nick felt a fierce protectiveness toward them. This was his moment, not Marcus's, and he wasn't about to let that slip away. Look, we moved on from that. This is my family now. Marcus took a step closer, a slow smile creeping across his face, but it didn't reach his eyes. True, but the past has a way of haunting us. Doesn't it? You never know when it might catch up. Before Nick could respond, Julia stepped forward. Her voice was calm but commanding. Why don't we focus on the kids' success tonight, Marcus? They shouldn't have to deal with old ghosts. The crowd around them buzzed, but it felt like a world away. The tension was thick, almost suffocating. Nick's heart raced. He had deflected once, but would he be able to keep that barrier up? As the laughter around them continued, Nick couldn't shake the weight of Marcus's words. What did he mean by that? Would the past really come knocking again? In that moment, he realized their dance wasn't just with music but also the ghosts that loomed, waiting to strike. Would he have the courage to confront them if they did? Just then, the music from the next act began to spill over, the rhythm pulsing through his chest. Would the celebration continue, or would Marcus pull him back into a world he fought so hard to leave behind? An unsettled emotion churned in Nick's stomach as he faced these uncertainties. What new challenges lay ahead? Nick felt a wave of noise hit him as the next act took the stage, drowning out the tension lingering in his chest. The vibrant energy of the crowd surrounded them, but his focus was on Marcus, who seemed to relish the discomfort he stirred. He could feel Julia's hand warm and steady on his, a silent reminder that they were in this together. Mia, Max, how about we grab some ice cream after this? He suggested, trying to redirect the conversation back to joyful territory. The twins lit up at the idea, their laughter bubbling forth like laughter should, pure and unfiltered. But Marcus crossed his arms, his gaze glinting with something almost predatory. Ice cream sounds great, but maybe we should discuss logistics here instead. After all, you're going to need help if you want to keep this place running smoothly. Can be overwhelming, especially as your kids grow older. Before Nick could even muster a response, Mia innocently chimed in, but we're fine, right, Daddy? The burning sensation in Nick's chest intensified. Yes, we are fine, he said firmly, though inside he felt the tremors of unease. How could he convey to his children that sometimes the worst threats don't come from chaos but from those who lurk in the shadows with a smile? Don't you want what's best for your kids? Nick, think about it, your family, your shop, everything. Marcus leaned in, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. If you're struggling, I promise you I'm here. I can help. Marcus's suggestion was like poison in Nick's ears, twisting and turning until all he could do was focus on the sound of his twins' laughter. What help could Marcus offer that wasn't drenched in ulterior motives? Kids, let us keep celebrating your victory, Nick said, forcing a cheerfulness into his tone. Can we get a picture in front of the stage? His hope was to cover up the storm brewing between him and Marcus, to shield Mia and Max from the encroaching darkness. Just as they gathered together for the photo, Marcus slipped behind them, arms crossed, grin plastered on his face. Nick snapped the picture while glancing back at Marcus, who held his gaze a beat too long. The flicker of darkness in his expression sent a chill through Nick's bones. Perfect, Julia said, breaking the tension for a moment. She smiled brightly, nudging Mia and Max closer together as if trying to fend off the fallout. Their laughter rang out again, innocent and beautiful, even as the storm brewed. But the battle within Nick grew fiercer. His past seemed to swell up around him, memories of laughter and loyalty intertwined with betrayal and anger, holding him in a vice grip. "Marcus, I know you're kind," he said, keeping his voice steady but firm. "Things aren't what they used to be, and they certainly aren't changing back." Marcus raised an eyebrow, amusement glimmering in his eyes. "Oh, Nick, you should know by now that change is inevitable. You can't protect them from what they don't understand. Your past will always connect us." The weight of those words hit Nick like a fist, drawing involuntary tension across his shoulders. He watched as the twins danced away from them, blissfully unaware of the looming shadows. Suddenly, a commotion erupted to the side as a couple of performers burst into a spontaneous dance routine. The crowd erupted into cheers. Some began to clap. In that moment, a flicker of determination ignited in Nick. No matter what, he thought, "I will protect my family." But as he turned to embrace the joy of the moment, Mia pulled on his shirt. "Daddy, you'll dance with us, right? Just like we practiced?" His heart swelled with love, but with it came fear. What if the dance was twisted by Marcus's influence? Nick nodded, forcing a smile. "Of course, sweetie. Just let me finish up here," Marcus cut in, smug. "You might want to keep one eye on them while you still can. You never know what surprise is just around the corner." With those words, a wave of dread washed over Nick. What might he discover if he let his guard down? As the rhythm of the crowd swelled, something bubbled inside him. Was this night a celebration or the beginning of a reckoning? Nick's pulse raced as he reached for Mia and Max, realizing he had to choose dance and joy or brace for the storm that Marcus seemed determined to unleash. The crowd roared. The twins watched him with hopeful eyes, and the music twisted around them like a tangible force. Would he put his newfound beliefs to the test, or would he lose everything to the specter of his past? And just like that, Nick felt the first grip of an imminent confrontation tighten around him. As the music swelled and shadows lingered, what path would he choose? Nick could feel the pulse of the music thumping beneath his feet as he crouched down to meet his children's eager expressions. Mia's bright eyes sparkled, and Max bounced on the balls of his feet, both kids radiating pure joy. For a moment, the looming presence of Marcus faded into the background, overshadowed by the light that surrounded Mia and Max. "Okay. Okay," Nick said, gripping their tiny hands. "Let us show this crowd what we've got." As the music swelled, Nick felt the waves of vulnerability crashing against the fortress he'd built around his heart. He spun Mia gently, her laughter ringing like wind chimes. Max joined in, mirroring his father and sister with his own playful twirl. Laughter from nearby festival-goers wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Joy was infectious, and Nick wasn't immune. "Come on, dance with us," Mia squealed. They whirled in the limelight, a trio trapped in a moment where nothing else mattered. For that heartbeat in time, Nick forgot about Marcus's simmering threats, about the shadows clinging to the edges of their happiness. But as Nick spun with his children, he caught Marcus's eyes, anger dancing just below the surface of that cocky grin. It was enough to pull him back, grounding him with fear that began to claw at the edges of his heart. There was something sinister lurking behind that facade, a storm brewing that could shatter this beautiful moment. As the song shifted to a slower beat, Nick drew Mia and Max in closer. He noticed how their expressions softened, cherishing the connection wrapped in their embrace. "Remember last summer, when we danced by the lake?" he whispered to them, nostalgia coating his words. Mia's face lit up, her smile radiating warmth. "You spun me around and around, Daddy." "Just like that," he said, squeezing them tighter. The truth of those moments filled him with a fierce resolve. He could be their protector, their safe haven. But just as Nick reveled in the love radiating between them, the crowd began to shift, their cheers changing to low gasps. In the distance, Marcus moved through the throng, his demeanor shifting. He carried an air of authority that drew to him a few others, individuals who mirrored the tension of past encounters. Nick's heart raced. Something was unfolding that he couldn't ignore. "Daddy?" Max's voice broke through the haze of his worries, wide-eyed and innocent. "What's happening?" "Nothing, buddy," Nick said, forcing a smile. Just stay close. But even as he said those words, an ominous sense of dread settled deeper in his gut. Without warning, Marcus took to the stage again, forgoing the celebration for a spotlight of his own. Friends, enjoying the night, aren't we? His voice boomed, weaving through the crowd like poison. But what is a celebration without a few surprises? A knot tightened in Nick's throat. This was not just about the twins anymore. Stay close, he urged, wrapping an arm protectively around Mia and Max as he pushed through the gathering crowd. Suddenly, Marcus raised his hand and the attention of everyone zeroed in. Tonight, we uncover the truth. Hidden talents waiting to blossom. But he paused for dramatic effect. Are you ready for what's behind the curtain? Nick's heart sunk. The spotlight glinted off the man's sinister smile as it turned toward them. Stars dimmed in Nick's eyes when he realized. If Marcus intended to unveil any hidden truths, it would be with devastating consequences. Why is he doing this? Julia murmured, finally catching up to Nick. Fear lined her features. I don't know, Nick replied, scanning the crowd, his instincts screaming at him. But we can't let him bring us down. We have to be ready. Will he hurt us? Max asked, clutching Mia's hand tighter. No, Nick said firmly, but the uncertainty pressed on his chest. I won't let him. As tension crackled in the air, they stood together, a steadfast trio against the impending storm. Nick could feel the ground shifting under them, the stakes higher than ever. Suddenly, the curtain slid open with a flourish, revealing something or someone hidden behind. Nick clenched his fists. What awaited them? And as the light spilled forward, illuminating the unknown, Nick felt his heart pounding in sync with the uncertainty. Would he be prepared for whatever lay ahead? The moment of truth arrived, and he braced himself for an unforeseen revelation that could change everything. Nick's breath caught in his throat as the bright lights revealed not just a performer waiting in the wings, but someone who sent a shockwave through his heart. There, stepping into the spotlight, was Emma, his quiet, unassuming housekeeper, who had always melted into the background of their lives. Mia and Max gasped. Nick felt their little hands tighten around his own as they squinted at the woman they knew as Aunt Emma. Mommy, is that really her? Mia asked, eyes wide. I don't know, Nick stammered, his mind racing. Emma stood confidently, a vibrant dance costume twinkling under the harsh lights. It was as if she had been waiting for this moment her entire life. Every intricate move promised years of training, a depth of joy that was hiding beneath layers of normalcy. Surprise! How many of you even knew she could do this? Shouted Marcus, his grin widening as he tapped into the thrill of the unfolding scene. The crowd buzzed with excitement, some cheering while others whispered, clearly caught off guard by the unexpected performance. Nick's mind was a whirlwind. Emma had barely spoken more than a few words to him. He often thought of her as part of the backdrop, expertly navigating the workings of their household. Yet here she was, radiant and alive, commanding attention with every shift of her body. He felt the heat rising in his face as pride and confusion battled for supremacy within him. Daddy, can we watch? Max tugged at his hand, eyes glimmering with curiosity. A part of him wanted to pull them away, to shield them from this sudden upheaval, from Marcus's manipulative tactics. But another part was captivated by Emma, by how her every movement told a story, a narrative he had no idea existed. As the music crescendoed, Emma began to dance a mix of elegance and energy that drew gasps from the crowd. She spun, leaped, and twirled, weaving through the past and present effortlessly. Nick realized how much beauty he had overlooked, how deep her well of talent ran. He exchanged glances with Julia, who wore an expression of astonishment. Isn't she incredible? She breathed, hardly containing her excitement. Nick hesitated, grappling with the emerging truth. I never knew none of us did, came Julia's heartfelt reply. But Marcus was pacing, like a predator lurking in the shadows. Nick could see the glee in his eyes. He was feeding off the spectacle, using Emma as a pawn to keep the audience enthralled, while directing his attention towards Nick and his family, pulling them into a storm they had no control over. Emma finished her stunning routine, Applause erupted around them. Nick clapped along, his frame rigid with mixed emotions. Didn't he know what to feel? Pride? Anxiety? Perhaps anger for Marcus manipulating them all in the first place. Then suddenly he felt a gentle tug on his sleeve. Mia was looking up at him, her face a canvas of wonderment. "Why does Uncle Marcus want to show everyone our secret helpers?" she asked innocently, unaware of the darkness swirling beneath the surface. Eyes wide, Nick hesitated as he searched for the appropriate words to explain. "Mia, it's complicated," he began. But before he could share the truth, an unexpected interruption rang out through the crowd. "Everyone, let us hear it for Emma," Marcus boomed, drawing more attention to her luminous presence. "But don't go anywhere. We have more stars hidden behind the curtain." Nick's heart sank. Another unveiling? What else was Marcus hiding? He glanced back at Emma, who now appeared flustered under the sudden spotlight. The moment had been meant to elevate her, but now it felt like she was being put on display for everyone to scrutinize and judge. "Stay close," Nick whispered again to Mia and Max, but he felt that familiar weight of dread pressing down on him. Marcus was relentless, and there was more at play than he realized. A tension hung in the air as the crowd shifted with eager anticipation, and Nick could feel the full force of impending chaos heading their way. With emotions coiling tight in his chest, he whispered a promise to himself. He would protect his children and Emma from whatever storm Marcus was brewing. Yet, as he stared at the curtain, something deep inside him stirred a thought that perhaps the surprises would not only reveal others but could also expose a part of himself he had long buried. Would he be ready to confront that truth? And just how deep did Marcus's plans run? The night was only beginning, and Nick steeled himself for whatever was about to unfold next. The crowd's applause began to fade as their cheers turned into murmurs of curiosity. Nick felt his heart race, a mixture of dread and anticipation clawing at him. He couldn't shake the feeling that Marcus had something even bigger up his sleeve. "Who's next?" a voice in the crowd shouted, breaking through Nick's thoughts. Marcus stepped forward, arms wide as if he were the ringmaster of an extravagant circus. "Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. We've got a special treat." Nick glanced at Emma, who stood frozen, unsure and exposed under the flood of lights. It was a stark contrast to how vibrant and free she had appeared during her dance. The warmth in her smile had been replaced by a deepening worry. It pained him to see her stripped of the confidence she just had. "Mia, Max, maybe we should," Nick began, but Marcus interrupted again, his voice booming through the chaos. "Next, I want to thank and honor the incredible beings behind the curtain, those who work tirelessly to make our lives easier, and who have hidden talents of their own." He gestured grandly toward the draped enclosure just off the stage. Nick felt his pulse quicken as he began to comprehend the gravity of Marcus's words. It was as if everyone in the audience held their breath, waiting for something unexpected to emerge. "Please, welcome our next performer," Marcus declared, feigning theatrics but enthusiasm laced with something darker. As the curtain drew back, Nick felt a jolt of anxiety. The shy and humble faces he recognized were about to take the stage. Was it even fair to put them through this? The tension in the air thickened as they stepped into the spotlight. "What is he doing?" Julia whispered beside him, her voice barely slicing through the buzz of the crowd. "I don't know," Nick replied, his jaw clenched tight. The glint in Marcus's eye sent shivers down his spine. It was like he craved this tension, this chaos. Before he could rationalize further, figures emerged, one by one, standing in the glaring lights. It was a mix of cleaners and helpers from the community. Faces that Nick knew well, people who worked quietly to keep life running smoothly. They were smiling, but it felt forced, like they were playing a role in a play they didn't audition for. Each hesitant step reinforced Nick's sense of protectiveness. He could see confusion splashed across their faces, as well as a hint of fear. They were not performers. They were the very fabric of his home and community. "Give it up for them," Marcus bellowed, throwing his arms wide again, captivating the onlookers. "These lovely people may look like ordinary workers, but tonight, we'll see their hidden talents." Nick gritted his teeth. What exactly does that mean? He searched the crowd for Emma, hoping she'd find the strength to step forward again, to reclaim the dignity this moment could strip from all of them. But all he found was a growing fear in her eyes, reflecting the turmoil within himself. The weight of his family of Mia and Max rested heavily on his shoulders. "Daddy, why are they scared?" Mia's innocent question pierced through his inner turmoil. "They're just nervous, sweetie. Sometimes when we don't expect something, it can be a little scary, right?" He replied, trying to keep his voice calm, though he felt anything but. Nick was about to argue with Marcus, to demand he stop this twisted show, when the first helper began to dance. Their movements were clumsy yet heartfelt, clearly not used to being in the spotlight. The crowd didn't know whether to cheer or stay silent. It was awkward and uncomfortable. Suddenly, a crescendo of laughter erupted as one of them tripped over their own feet, igniting a reaction that spread through the audience like wildfire. The laughter shifted the atmosphere from one of tension to lightheartedness, but Nick couldn't shake the feeling that this was all a manipulation. Then, out of the blue, from behind the curtain, came a girl, one of the shy cleaners from before, who possessed an inkling of grace in her steps. As she danced, it was as if the burden she carried fell away. The crowd's laughter faded into genuine cheers. And just like that, Nick's heart beat faster. Would Emma join them? Would they uncover more hidden talents? As the atmosphere turned electric, he couldn't help but wonder about the deeper story behind this entire night, the hidden layers of talent and identity that lay beneath the surface. Is this what Marcus wanted all along? He thought. To uncover secrets we didn't even know existed? But what does he stand to gain? Nick's instincts flared. He needed answers, not just for himself but for Emma, for all whose light was being dimmed by a showman in control. With renewed determination, he straightened his back and prepared to confront Marcus head-on. But darkness lingered, and with each heartbeat, he could feel something larger looming ahead. What would the next act reveal? And would it put everything Nick held dear at risk? Nick shifted his weight from one foot to the other, anticipation racing through him. The laughter from the crowd still echoed in his ears, mixed with the warm glow that came from unexpected joy. But even amidst that spark, a flicker of anxiety danced at the corners of his thoughts. What was Marcus planning? What lay behind those glinting eyes? As the girl's graceful movements captivated the audience, Nick felt a swell of pride mix with protectiveness. She was transforming before their eyes, revealing a side they had never seen. Her smile had blossomed, lifting the weight of her everyday burdens in an instant. But that joy only intensified his worry for Emma and the others caught in Marcus's spotlight. A hush blanketed the crowd as the young dancer finished her routine, leaving everyone in a state of stunned applause. Yet, as the next performer, a flustered cleaner, took the stage, he sensed the atmosphere shifting again, pulling him in two directions. "Come on, Em," he whispered under his breath, glancing around for her. He needed her to join them, to regain the shine that Marcus seemed bent on taking away. But instead, there was only uncertainty in her expression, echoing the fear he felt growing in his gut. "Why are they doing this?" Mia chimed again, her tiny voice ringing with innocence. Her curiosity cut through the murmurs around them, reminding Nick how crucial it was to set an example for his children. "They're showing courage," he answered with a smile, though the heaviness in his heart contradicted his words. Courage to be themselves. As each new performer stumbled onto that unforgiving stage, Nick felt himself gripping the back of the seat. One of them sang, voice shaky yet full of heart. A round of applause followed, but it felt more like pity than appreciation. Voices cheered, but their eyes told a different story. They saw the struggle, the grit, more than the talent. Suddenly, Nick's heart skipped. Marcus had just transformed. He replaced his joyful demeanor with a sinister calm, the smile fading from his lips, as he stepped forward, drawing all eyes again. There was something eerie about him, a puppet master relishing the chaos. "Now," he announced theatrically, "we get to the fun part. Hidden talents. Revealed." What was worse was seeing those helpers' faces, their smiles morphing into masks of uncertainty again. The energy shifted, confusion splattering across their features. Nick leaned in to Emma. "We should stop this," he murmured, urgency threading his voice. "We shouldn't allow Marcus to control this. There is nothing we can do." Emma replied, fear flickering in her eyes. It broke his heart to see her retreat, frozen once more. Before he could press further, he caught sight of the transformation in somebody yet again. One of the older staff members, a familiar face, had decided to join in. Their hesitant strut turned into a full-bodied dance that exuded a charisma Nick had never seen from this person before. The crowd erupted, their laughter intertwining with genuine appreciation. That's it, he thought. People were showing themselves facing the spotlight even if it felt surreal. Perhaps all it needed was that first brave move. "Maybe if we join," he said softly to Emma, his voice steadying, "we can show them it's okay." Emma bit her lip, uncertainty etched across her face, but he could see a glimmer of consideration in her eyes. "Do you really think please for them?" he urged, glancing back at the stage where newfound confidence brewed. Even Mia, her little hands gripping the edges of her chair, seemed eager for something more, the innocence in her gaze pleading for action. The moments dragged on, anticipation curling tightly in the air. Then, without fully intending to, Nick stood, swallowing hard. The ways of Marcus had forced an undeniable change upon them all. If one step could shift the tide, then all of them surely could together. "Come on, we can do this." He stepped toward the stage, beckoning to the hesitant crowd. He felt Emma's hand slip into his, a small warmth brimming with courage. "What if they laugh?" she whispered, fear still broiling in her voice. "They're laughing with them now," Nick said, motioning to the dancing crowd. "Let us give them something real to cheer for." As he watched the collective body of this community begin to rise, a palpable momentum surged through him. Would Emma find her voice again? Nick glanced back toward Marcus once more. The shadows clung to him, foreboding. The stage awaited. Was it too late to claim the moment and shift the narrative? One heartbeat, two. As the first foot stepped toward the stage, the moment of truth trembled in the air. Would they break free? Would it change everything? And just as hope twinkled in Nick's chest, a flash of uncertainty flickered through the crowd. Would Marcus allow it? Would he finally issue his undying challenge? Nick's breath caught as he took a step forward, and he felt the weight of every gaze in the room. The air thickened with suspense. Even Mia, usually a ball of energy, seemed to hold her breath. What would Marcus do? How would the crowd react? As Nick glanced back at Emma, her face had shifted, fear mutating into resolve. "All right, let's go," she said, and with that simple phrase she transformed before his eyes. She pushed her shoulders back, a newfound determination shining in her eyes. One step became two, and slowly, the crowd began to stir. A ripple of hope pulsed through the audience, and Nick caught sight of other hesitant souls beginning to rise from their seats. Courage spread like wildfire. The music shifted, a lively tune that beckoned them forward. With every beat, Nick felt his heart accelerate, injury wrapping itself around the emotion of the moment. Emma squeezed his hand, and he could sense her nerves vibrating like a taut string. "On three," he whispered to her, his voice steady in an ocean of uncertainty. 1, 2, 3. With a burst of energy, they stepped onto the stage. The lights glinted against Emma's face, and for an instant, Nick could see the girl he fell in love with, the one who faced so much but never backed down. The crowd erupted into applause, confusion melting away as they caught sight of Nick and Emma. Something had shifted in the room, a collective breath taken together. Nick pointed into the heart of the crowd, urging those who gazed back at them to join in their dance. They moved to the rhythm, hearts pounding yet light as feathers. Emma's laughter blended with the music, igniting a beacon of hope in Nick's chest. "See?" he exclaimed, as safe and victorious as a lion. "It's fun. It's real." Slowly, others began to join, stepping onto the stage as if pulled by an invisible string. The older staff member twirled in rhythm, former hesitation erased, and the cleaner put aside their nerves, letting the music guide them. Mia watched in awe, eyes wide with admiration, as the ordinary transformed into the extraordinary. But just as they began to flow as one, Nick spotted Marcus. The way he observed them felt like a storm brewing. The sinister calm returned to his face, and Nick felt a chill creep up his spine. Would he allow this joy to thrive, or would he snuff it out like a candle in the wind? As the crowd came alive, laughter replacing their earlier doubts, Nick felt a surge of power gather. He took a deep breath, recalling all the acts of courage he witnessed that night. None had prepared him for this, for reclaiming their spotlight. "Let us fly," he shouted, spinning Emma around, her laughter ringing through the chaos like chimes in a summer breeze. The moment felt eternal, drenched in color as everyone finally joined in celebration. Yet even amid the joy, Nick's mind raced. Would Marcus attack this happiness? He could feel the challenge brewing, a dangerous game unfolding. Nick knew they were all one step away from a breakthrough or disaster. Just as they swayed together in a moment of unity, the music reached its crescendo, and Marcus stepped forward, his posture rigid, eyes ablaze with something darker. "Enjoy the moment," he called out, voice cutting through the euphoric atmosphere. "But remember, every performance has its price." A wave of tension swept over the stage. Emma's grip tightened around Nick's hand, a small reminder that they were in this together. What price would Marcus demand? Would he crush their joy as swiftly as he'd conjured it? The question loomed heavy as they danced, uncertainty wetting the air with dread. What was Marcus's next move? The tension in the air was electric as Nick faced Marcus, whose imposing presence cast a shadow over the joyousness of the moment. The music pulsed around them, a vibrant backdrop to the silent battle brewing. Nick's heart raced, filled with a mix of fear and determination. The laughter that had erupted just moments ago still lingered, a reminder of what was at stake. Nick took a deep breath and pulled Mia and Max closer to him, shielding them with his body. He felt Emma's hand warm in his, a spark of courage igniting within both of them. This ends now, he thought, holding on to the moment of unity they had all created. "Marcus," Nick spoke, voice steady but laced with authority. "You've had your fun. But hurting these people? That's where I draw the line. You will not take this joy away." The crowd quieted, peering between Nick and Marcus, sensing the tension that had escalated into a confrontation. "Oh, Nick," Marcus replied, feigning disappointment, his smile widening. "You're too naive to see the bigger picture. This isn't just a party. It's a lesson in humility, a reminder that not everyone can shine." Nick clenched his jaw, anger rising like a tide. "You call this a lesson? There's nothing humble about keeping people from living their truth. They have hidden talents and dreams just waiting to burst free." As his words settled in the air, murmurs erupted from the crowd, a mix of support for Nick and defiance against Marcus's charm. This was their moment, and he wasn't about to let it slip away. "Right, everyone? Everyone deserves their moment to shine," he rallied, his voice rising with passion, echoing through the crowd. "This isn't about Marcus. It's about all of us, about community, acceptance, and love." Mia and Max watched their father with wide eyes, their hearts swelling with pride. The crowd began to cheer, a wave of collective strength washing over them. Nick turned to Emma, feeling her resolve beside him. "We won't be silenced anymore," Nick said, glancing back at the group of helpers, who were now beginning to gather around him, emboldened by his words. The fear in their eyes slowly transformed into determination. Marcus's smile faded slightly, uncertainty flickering in his gaze. "You think this is over, Nick? You think they'll follow you?" he shot, frustration building beneath his polished exterior. "Yes," someone from the crowd shouted, and soon, they were echoing that sentiment, voices growing stronger in solidarity. "Yes." Nick could feel the momentum swelling, lifting up the spirits of those around him. He took another step forward, meeting Marcus's gaze head-on. "Fight all you want, but these people are no longer your pawns. They are fiercely capable, filled with talents that have yet to be revealed. Whatever price you think you can impose, I won't stand for it." The atmosphere shifted. The weight of fear cracked like glass, giving way to laughter, strength, and security. The crowd, emboldened by Nick's words, transformed the stage into a platform of vulnerability and resilience. Nick could see Emma beginning to relax, her confidence unwavering in the face of Marcus. The performers, filled with newfound energy, began to step forward ready to showcase their own skills. As you wish to draw out the darkness, we will illuminate it, Nick declared, his voice getting stronger, resonating with the strength he hadn't known he carried. Let us see who truly has the talent to keep the spotlight. In that moment, Mia bounced forward, her small frame radiating pure joy. Daddy, can we dance again? Nick didn't hesitate. He released Emma's hand and took Mia's, leading her forward. Of course, sweetie. Everyone, join in. The music picked up again as the crowd, inspired by Nick's fiery spirit, began to move from the shadows into the light, dancing together in defiance of fear. Laughter filled the air, and the stage became a vibrant ocean of creativity and expression, the power of community pouring from every heart. Nick's heart swelled. They were not alone. He would protect this joy with every ounce of strength he had. As they danced, the crowd swirled around them, shimmer and laughter echoing in the night. Marcus, increasingly agitated, could only watch as the laughter took on a life of its own, hearts intertwining under the moonlit sky. Finally, he stepped forward, a desperate attempt to regain control. This is a distraction. It won't last, he shouted, but the people's joy soared above him, drowning out his words. No, Nick shouted back, a fierce light erupting in his chest. This is us. This is our community. A place where everyone has a chance to shine, not just you. The more Marcus tried to undermine their joy, the stronger their voices became. The applause that followed each performance stole Marcus's thunder, forcing him into the background, fading as the community danced as one. As the curtains closed on Marcus's plans, Nick pulled Mia and Max closer. He felt Emma at his side, her warmth a reminder of the beauty they had uncovered together. They all knew they would no longer allow his toxic influence to linger in their hearts. Nick took one last look at Marcus, whose face was now twisted in disbelief and frustration. You may have thought you could pull the strings, Nick said, his voice steady, but what you underestimated was love, community, and joy. It's undeniably powerful, and it thrives here. With the final note of music fading into silence, Nick stood tall, surrounded by laughter, love, and the unbreakable bond of his family. They had not only discovered hidden talents that night, but a strength within themselves they never imagined possible. As the crowd dissolved into a celebration of gratitude and connection, Nick smiled, knowing they had transformed something dark into a night of light. And in that swirling mix of joy, solidarity, and love, he felt a surge of hope flicker deep inside him. This was only the beginning. If they could overcome Marcus, there was no challenge too great for them to face together. Tomorrow was a new day, waiting for them to embrace it with open arms. Now, it's your turn to be part of the journey. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support the channel now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions.